good evening and welcome to episode 2 of Nice to Metre You. To Metre You Nice. It's a Vision Sportscast, and tonight we have a bit of a Munster feel about it, okay? Because we later in the programme we'll have Shane Ryan, okay? I think he's having having his dinner at the moment. There was a time a few months back when he was almost a Sharks dinner, so we'll catch up with Shane in a little while. Also, we're taking a trip to Tip to meet Annie and Kathleen. They're amazing mammy and daughter, so that'll be really good. And but before all of that, some of you will be aware, maybe many of you will be aware, that we lost a treasure, a really valuable friend of ours last Thursday morning. So I'm inviting Pat Kelly, another legend, okay, to maybe say a few words about the marathon man who went to heaven, Jimmy Gallagher.
Okay, folks, how are you all keeping? You know, it was a privilege for me to be associated with Jimmy Gallagher for nearly, I'd say, 40 years now at this stage. Jimmy was a marathon runner, I was a sprinter, so we didn't really cross paths probably in the early years. But I try to be brief because I could talk for hours about Jimmy. But I remember one of the first probably long-lasting memories I had of Jimmy was when we went over to Holland for the Para World Championships. And Jimmy decided not to travel with the team because we were there for 4 or 5 days before the marathon would actually take place. So Jimmy being a perfectionist in his training, and he wanted to have the ultimateness of fitness when he arrived. He arrived the day before, anyway. And our coach said to Jimmy, look, make sure, see that you're drinking plenty, he said, because it's very hot over here. So drink all day, said Jimmy. So Jimmy was down buckets of water all day. And I'll never forget this. So we were staying in an army barracks. It was home from home to Jimmy, staying in a village, about 10 of us in the village anyway. And we were all in bed, and I woke up maybe number 12 to go to sleep, and could I spend a fumbling around the room looking for the toilet with Jimmy. So I have to open show him where the toilet was because he wasn't familiar at this stage. And about an hour or two later, I woke up again, and there was Jimmy again, and I went to the toilet. And I said, Jimmy, okay, I am grand, yeah. And an hour or two later, up again anyway, and he says, this bloody water, he says, drinking all day, see him peeing all night. So it wasn't a great preparation for his marathon, and he went out and he ran the marathon. He didn't have a good marathon that particular time because he got a stomach bug and he had to, I think, finish after 6 or 7 miles. But I'll never forget that. It was the way he said about, going to the toilet. All of those memories, we had fantastic memories. I could go on forever about memories. But one thing, Jimmy had a great circle of friends, especially army friends, Dr. Claude and Ski Mullen, Liam Mullen. And they ran with him and they took him out to the gym in the army, and they had a great time. But lifelong friends. Unfortunately, a lot of them, Claude died and Ski was on his funeral. But he made one lifelong friend as well, a guy called Declan Smith. I was just talking to Declan today, and he mentioned, I said, how did you get to know Jimmy? He said, Jimmy ran the Dublin City Marathon, he said, way back in the early 80s, he said, and he was interviewed by the evening press, and he put an appeal out for guides, so he could have picked the guides for his training. And Declan contacted Jimmy anyway, and they met in Dynamo Strand to see how things went on. And Declan ran with him for years, up to the time when Jimmy had to get a pacemaker, and he was advised not to run. So Declan said, well, so he started walking, and he said, God, he said he was walking as fast as when he was running. So they walked anyway, and one day Jimmy said to Declan, said to Jimmy, he said, would you fancy going on a tandem? And Jimmy, being the man he was, anything got to do with exercise, Jimmy never said no. He said, I tried, yeah. So Declan had an old tandem and would offer a tandem cycle. And Jimmy eventually bought his own good Trek tandem, which he still has today. And only up to last month, maybe a month before Jimmy went into hospital, they were still cycling at least twice a week. And Declan would be probably 20 odd years younger than Jimmy, but that's the kind of friends that Jimmy Gallagher acquired through the years. He was very gracious, a very humble man, very gracious as well. His favourite word was thank you. Everything he did for Jimmy was thank you. You make a phone call to him, he finished with the words thank you. And you know what? He was an ambassador for blind and visually impaired people. His appearance, he dressed impeccably. His confidence was oozing with confidence. He used to go skiing, you know, twice a year, and this today, to America and Europe twice a year, and in the latter years only to Europe. And one time he was skiing, about 3 years ago actually, he was out skiing, and he was telling me he could hurtle down the skis at probably 50 miles an hour. He always wanted a guide that could go fast. And he fell anyway, and he got injured. And I said to him, did you call the rescue? No, he said, no, we actually got down. He said, it took us a half an hour to get down. He said, what would normally take us? He said, a half an hour. And he went to the hospital anyway, and he had a broken collarbone. But that didn't deter Jimmy from skiing. He was back to skiing the following year. And you know, I'll talk about his confidence. I remember he told me one time, he used to go from Kilbarrack in the bus to Lower Abbey Street and walk from there up Abbey Street and across the Connaught Bridge and down to Moore Street to get his fruit and veg nearly every Saturday and have a battle with the girls at the stores. I think that's his main reason why he went. But he could do that all on his own and walk back then out to the bus and go home. Something that I couldn't do. And I put a person who's totally blind in Dublin and Moore Street, like, you know, it's like walking into Croke Park on an all-Ireland hurling final or football final. But I said he was always with independence, very independent. He lived on his own for maybe the last 10 to 12 years. I suppose with the support of his family, but he was mainly on his own. And he still kept his appearance up, kept his training. He joined the gym last year, and he was telling me he used to do 2 spinning classes, one after another. And you know what, I just tell a funny story. It was, Jimmy, as you know, worked in Britain's barracks. And I used to phone him quite regularly. You know, I used to phone him, he had his dulcet tone, like, returns, no. And so I rang one day around Christmas time, and this guy answered the phone. I don't actually say, hello, Steve Brickens, can I help you? I said, is Jimmy about? He says, no, he's not actually. I said, is he gone home? Well, he's not, no. Well, is he coming back? Well, who's calling? I told him, I'm a friend of his. He said, well, between me, you and the wall now, he says, Jimmy's down in the pint, or in the mess having a pint. And it depends whether he's 1, 2, 3 or 4 pints as to what time he's coming back. So
that's wonderful, Pat. That really is wonderful.
Can I just say one more thing, Joe? I know you're time, yeah.
Okay, go on, yeah. We might call you back in later anyway. Okay.
Do you want me to finish?
No, we just say one more. Go on, yeah.
No, I was going to finish anyway. I was just going to finish by just saying, Jimmy, thanks for all the great times we had together. And I know you're gone from us, but your memories will live on forever in our hearts. So God bless you, and may you rest in peace. Thank you.
Hands up, everybody. That is really good. And Pat, I'm the same as you, and I know many other people here. We're going to miss Jimmy. It was his 75th birthday. He died on his 75th birthday. So rest in peace, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Okay, to a totally different end of the world now, because this girl comes from a land down under, where men glow and women plunder. Christina, who have you plundered this week?
Yeah, no joke. No chundering either. I think that's, wow, we're really starting off on a high. We're started to mean to go on. Thanks for the introduction. Not usually how I introduce myself, but yeah, no, so today we're here this week, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We're really excited to have you. We're doing a bit of a flip schedule today, so we're starting off, and I'm really pleased to introduce Annie and Kathleen. Annie and Kathleen are 2 of Vision Sports VIPs. I personally met Annie and Kathleen for the first time this year when Vision Sports merged with NCBI at our launch at Trinity College. And Annie is a star football player, cyclist, swimmer, runner, horse rider, athlete. Basically anything that she gives a go, she is fabulous at. And we are thrilled to have both Annie and her mum Kathleen here today as big advocates for sport and participation. So thank you for coming, and thank you for taking your time to come and speak to us. We're all really thrilled to have you.
Hi, Christina. Hi.
Perfect. So I suppose as participants of Vision Sports, and I know you've been involved for many, many, many years, and Joe has so many terrific things to say about you. My first question, I suppose, is just taking it right back to the start. How did you first get involved in Vision Sports?
We were asked back in April of 2017, we were asked by a good friend of ours, Dara Stakelum. He played with the blind football team of Ireland at the time, and he just knew Annie, and he asked would we be interested in taking part in a training session with himself and the guys and Nick Harrison down in Cork. And to me, Annie was 9, and he was asking her to go training with men, adult men. I was a bit panicky, but we said we'd give it a go because we had tried things at home that didn't work out. So off we went to Cork, and she did a training session. She was introduced to the ball with the bell, and things just made sense and things worked for her. And after that session, Nick Harrison asked us to go to Mayfest in Dublin. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks later with Vision Sports. We had never heard of either. And we went to Dublin, and basically in May 2017, Annie's life changed, but it began at the same time. That was our introduction.
That's such a wonderful story, and I suppose we're really glad that was the way that you kind of found us. For many of you who may or may not know, I don't know if for our listeners here, Mayfest would be one of our flagship events for the year, and sadly had to be cancelled this year, and we looked to postponing, but next year we'll be back for our 40th anniversary, and it's a big weekend of come and tries for a wide variety of sports, including running and cycling and football and swimming. So it's a really great opportunity for anyone that's listening. If you keep it in mind, Mayfest, it is in May. So hopefully it'll be good weather and lots of safety from restrictions by that point. But I suppose if Mayfest was your kind of entrance and football, Annie, what's your favourite thing about playing sport?
Well, sports makes me happy. So when I go in on a Monday morning into school, my friends will all talk about the sports and activities they did during the weekend. And since I got involved with Vision Sports, I'm able to tell them all the sports I've done, such as the football, swimming with Frank, going for a tandem cycle with my dad. So I just love that.
That's really great to hear. That's really great to hear. And do you get involved then with your friends? Are they really interested in playing then football with you? Are you playing together then in the schoolyard as well?
Yeah, we have a ball with the bell in school. So outside on the pitch or for PE, we'd play a football game, but I'd be able to play as well with the ball, and that's great that I can play with them.
And I bet you run rings around them. I've seen Annie play football, and I know that Kevin is actually on the call as well, and Annie was running rings around him. And then we introduced Dean Rock into the situation, and she was still holding her own, and I'm very, very impressed. So look, there might be a spot on you might be on the Tipperary team at this point, but still a good team to be part of. It's great to hear that you were able to find those kind of links in and that Vision Sports was able to provide a bit of support in that way. And going to direct the question then to Kathleen. What would you say is the biggest enabler for Annie and for yourselves and your family getting involved in sport again?
Before we found football and Vision Sports, we had tried activities locally. Annie had tried athletics with the local athletics club, and through no fault of the coaches there, it just didn't work because I suppose they weren't trained to deal with visually impaired. We had tried swimming in the local swimming pool with a fantastic swim coach, but she wasn't able to explain it to Annie what to do, and Annie wasn't able to explain why she was scared. So once we got introduced to Vision Sport and we met coaches like Nick Harrison and like Frank, who are trained especially to deal with visually impaired. And once the tools were right, like the ball with the bell, Frank explaining to Annie to counter strokes so she knows when the end of the pool is coming. Communication and the tandem, that herself and dad have they're listening to each other. So once the tools were right and the trainers were right, then it worked for us. And that's what blew us away, that it was possible because the coaches knew how to explain and how to train her. And that was the biggest stumbling block completed for us.
That's really great to hear. And I know that we had Frank on last week, and I'm sure you're absolutely itching to get back in the pool and back up to Dublin. And he's yes. And back up to Dublin. And I think Frank is the same, and everyone is just looking forward to that day when we can all be together again and it'll all be available. Looking forward to the future, I know that Annie, you never shy away from any sort of opportunity or any sport, and you're always the first one to be giving something a go. What's one sport you'd like to try? Is there anything that's like on your bucket list? It could be fishing or surfing or skydiving, I don't know, maybe like bobsledding, but what's your dream sport? What do you want to do?
I would actually love to try skydiving because I love exciting things like that. And I'd love to do more water skiing. I did it at a Vision Sports water skiing weekend. So I'd love to do skydiving and water skiing again.
Excellent. Look, I think we could probably set something up about a skydiving. If anyone knows anyone that owns a plane, might need that first. But the water skiing is great. We might get you on a wakeboard as well, and we'll throw in a kneeboard or something. It'd be a great time. One last question for you both, and then I'll hand it back over to Joe. What advice would you have for others that might be a little bit nervous to try a new sport or to try a new club, or if they don't kind of know what to do or how to go about it?
You go first. Well, Vision Sports is just great. So I'd say to try every sport you can. And if one sport doesn't work out, you can still say you give it a go, and you can there's always another sport to try.
It's really profound advice. I'm really impressed. Exactly.
She kind of took what I was going to say. And from a parent's perspective, just let your child try. Just give them a chance. Like, Vision Sports are totally capable of helping you, and ring one of yourselves and have a chat, or even get in touch with some of us involved, like Annie and myself, and hear our stories. But let your child try, because it's made Annie who she is. And like, even as a family, we've met so many fantastic people. I know a lot of them are on here, even Sandra, Christopher, Frank. We've met so many great families, and it's given us a lot of hope for how Annie will be in the future and how successful she will be.
That's lovely. That's great to hear. And look, we're really pleased on this end that we and Joe and everyone, the whole team, were able to kind of provide supports like that have made Annie hopefully confident and healthy, and enabled you guys to be able to participate in sport in the ways that you have. And we hope that continues on for many, many years, starting with a skydive. Yeah. Excellent. So look, thanks very much for coming on. I know we're going to come back to you later on for our quick fire 60-second round, but I'll hand back over to Joe now. So thank you to Tipperary. And see you later.
Thank you, Tip. Thank you, Tip. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Annie. That was brilliant.
Thanks,
and Kathleen, thanks for doing a few name calls for me there. I'll add in 2 or 3 more. Aaron Mullenif is the boss around here, okay? And we're going to nab him next week for a few minutes, so you get to meet him better. But also, I see on the call there is Anne from Waterford, Anne Cusick. I see Niamh from Waterford there as well, actually. Paul O'Reilly came back from last week. He survived last week. Back in again. Now, back talking about going back to Waterford for a minute, okay? Pádraig Keeley, okay, is genius. He's our new kid on the block. He's the new man in the office running the show. And Pádraig, you're very welcome. I just want to say one other thing to you before we get on. Pádraig, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Right, so yeah, who's there? Yeah, right. Well, I just thought you'd know all about back doors now, because I see Waterford hurlers are having to go in the back door to get into the All-Ireland again. Pádraig, over to you.
Thanks very much, Joe. And we're delighted to have our second guest of the afternoon. So from Paralympian in 2012 to rowing adventurist in 2020, 53 days in the Atlantic Ocean raising funds for Vision Sports Ireland. We're delighted to be joined all the way from Limerick by Shane Ryan. Thanks to you for joining us, Shane.
How's it going, Pádraig? Thanks for having me. You can hear me okay?
When I spoke to you on Monday, you were on a high and I was licking my wounds, and Joe just rubbed salt into my wounds after Sunday's Munster final win. So I'm sure you're still in good form, are you?
We're in good form now, and we're looking forward to Saturday now to see how the other matches go.
Great
and
stuff.
To see who Limerick could get.
Super. So not only an athlete, also a supporter, which is fantastic to see. So Shane, if you wouldn't mind taking us right back to where it all began and how you first got involved in sport and physical activity, if you'd share it with our audience this afternoon.
Yeah, so I grew up in Limerick here in a place called Ballybricken, and it was through when I was younger, I was able to play hurling, football, Gaelic football and rugby then with Bruff. So it was through the Ballybricken GA club is where I got involved, and it just went from there. As the site went down, I had to stop playing hurling. I played Gaelic football up until minor, and I played a bit of rugby then as well, locally in school and with Bruff Rugby Club.
Brilliant. And so having the foundations in a variety of different sports, you then took up rowing. And can you tell us a little bit how you went from a Paralympian in 2012 and how that transition was into some of the more extravagant and adventurous rowing events you're now taking part in?
Yeah, so in 2007, a letter from Castleconnell Boat Club came out to say that they were starting rowing for people with visual impairments. And I went down, had a look around, and the phrase "duck to water" comes to mind. I just signed up there and then and went from there. And a big thanks to Joe Cunningham down there who progressed me through the system and onto the Paralympic squad, and it just went from there.
And can you share a little bit about the experience you had at the Paralympics in London?
Yeah, that was an experience and a half. It was fantastic. Yeah, the rowing centre was in Dorney Lake. That was in Eton, where all the school is, Eton School. So that's where the rowing lake was. So we were on for the first 3 days, and then we were able to go and support all the other athletes that were competing. So the rowing race at the time was 1,000 meters, and I was blindfolded. It was a rule at the time that all visually impaired athletes were blindfolded. So I was just focused on rowing the race, listening to the cocks. You could hear the crowds at the start, and you could hear Joe Cunningham shouting you all the way down the course as well from the sidelines.
And Shane, from rowing 1,000 meters in the Paralympics to rowing for 53 days in the Atlantic Ocean, encountering all sorts of let's just say wildlife along the way. Can you give us an insight into how that experience was and share with our listeners about the trip you did earlier on this year? Yeah,
so when I was training for the Paralympics, we do an awful lot of endurance-based training as well. Say, quite long sessions at low intensity, but just building up the miles. So all that training stood to me when I decided to go row the ocean. So when you're out in the ocean, you'd be rowing for 2 hours on and 2 hours off, and that's the way I trained then as well for 1 year leading up to go row the ocean.
Okay, so you started the event earlier this year, and can you share with us, I guess, what the experience was like in relation to your crew? And you mentioned there about how you row for 2 hours and then you'd be off for 2 hours. What the meals were like on board? Can you give us an insight into that?
Yeah, so we were lucky. We left on the 4th of March, just before the whole world went into lockdown, and we experienced a bit of that on the ocean as well. We tried to pull into the Cape Verde Islands, but we weren't allowed on land. But we had to stop there to get water. So we got bottles of water there, about about 450 litres roughly. But when you're on the 2 hours off, when you're not rowing, you go straight back into the cabin, get a bit of food into, a small bit of food. You had to manage the food because there was only so much that we had on board, and then you just went back to sleep. If you had any salt water on you, you would wipe that off you then as well, just to prevent any sores developing. So the small little cabin is quite small. It was only about 6 foot long and very, very narrow. So you wouldn't want to be you want to be used to small spaces, you know.
It sounds incredible, Shane. And on that, you obviously have huge resilience and self-motivation. And is there a particular piece of advice that you've received through your career that has stuck with you, and I guess that you've used to help you get to where you are today?
It's an interesting one. Yeah, I would be quite resilient and determined to do things. Since London, from the Paralympics, I suppose just being self-driven is another one as well. So just when we were out rowing, it was kind of literally just the next stroke, and I suppose that kind of comes back to my rowing days as well. When you're suffering and you want to stop, you just tell yourself to keep going.
Absolutely. Very, very strong-minded. To have such resilience. And Shane, can you give us an insight on what you like to do when you're not training or not taking part in sporting events?
Yeah, I'd be big into music. I'd be a rock and metal person. So when there was concerts going, I'd go to concerts. I get the accessibility ticket, and someone would be able to go with me. A couple of Irish bands then as well, a couple of Limerick bands along the way. Hermitage Green would be a Limerick band there. I'd go and listen and watch them perform. So music would be a massive part of my life as well.
Brilliant, and I'm sure you listen to a wide variety of music while on the org every day when you're training. And just to conclude, Shane, what's next? Have you anything in particular in the pipeline that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I was going to do a challenge there next May, but I have to put it off by 12 months till May 22, just to let the body kind of recover fully. I kind of picked up a slight back and an ankle knock there in the last while, so just to let that fully heal. So it was a rowing machine challenge. It's called a continuous long row. So for every hour you do, you have to row for 50 minutes, and you only get 10 minutes off. So that's in the pipeline, and I'll be going for a world record there. I'll be doing it down here in Limerick in UL, the sports complex there.
Very good. We look forward to following on your next journey as you prepare for that world record attempt. So thanks for joining us this evening, Shane. We'll be back to you shortly for the 60-second quick fire round, but for the minute, over to you, Joe.
Brilliant. Some man Shane is. Hey Shane, I have a question for you. You know the way you lost 3 stone?
Joe.
You know the way you lost 3 stone during the last lockdown because you were out fishing for sharks? How many stones did you lose during the current lockdown?
None.
Okay, right, here comes Larry. Oh, sorry, Pádraig with his just a minute quiz.
Thanks, Joe. So Annie and Kathleen, are you ready for the nice to meet you quick fire round?
Yep. Off you go.
Okay, so I'll ask each question. We'll go to Annie first, and then we'll bounce across to Kathleen. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, off we go. What will you be asking Santa for this Christmas?
A new tablet and a small surprise.
Nice. And over to you, Kathleen.
I'd love a new Jeep.
with low mileage.
Yeah.
What is your favorite TV show?
Friends.
Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, two excellent choices. If you were stuck on a desert island, what three things would you bring with you?
Chocolate, a book, and a cuddly toy.
And Kathleen?
Well, if I'm going to be stuck, Eamon, Annie and Bill are coming with me. They can be stuck as well.
Brilliant, excellent. Tell us something you're really bad at. Now, Annie, I know you probably struggled with this question.
No. I'm really bad at dancing and doing the floss dance.
Very good. And Kathleen?
I'm brutal at singing, without a doubt.
Oh, join the club, join the club. Who do you admire most, Annie?
My parents.
Oh,
Oh, lovely.
I just say I suppose in current climate, the frontline workers, every one of them.
Lovely, well done, Kathleen. And the nicest place you have visited, Annie?
The Harry Potter Studios in London.
Wow.
And
Kathleen?
Barbados.
Oh, fab. Sound great. And describe yourself in 3 words.
Creative, determined, and awkward.
And you left out sporty. We'll add in a 4th just for you, Annie. Over to you, Kathleen.
I suppose, well, obviously I'm chatty, friendly, and I'd be hardworking. We'll go with those 3.
Well done. And finally, what's your dream job, Annie?
A show jumper.
Excellent. And you, Kathleen?
Anything that would work with dogs, just as long as there's dogs.
Oh, excellent. Well done. Thank you very much. And now we're going to move back to our rower in Limerick. Shane, are you ready for our 60-second quickfire round?
I'm still here, work with it.
Okay, so what will you ask Santa for this Christmas?
A big surprise.
Big surprise. And what's your favourite TV show?
Father Ted.
If you are stuck on a desert island, what 3 things will you bring with you? We should have said stuck on a rowing boat in this case, but go on.
Well, I could row to the desert island.
Very true, very true.
Set of drums, football, and box of matches.
Good stuff. And tell us something you're really bad at, Shane.
It's a tricky one now. Some people could say a lot of things. Singing.
Okay, and who do you admire most?
My parents.
The nicest place you have visited?
That would have been New Zealand in 2010 with the rowing champs. We went there.
Fabulous. And describe yourself in 3 words.
Determined, self-motivated, and sporty.
Excellent. And finally, what's your dream job?
Well, to be involved in sports, which I am, so I suppose I am doing it. If I wasn't vision impaired, it would have been a rugby player.
Excellent. Well done. Super. Thanks for that, Shane. And now I'm going to hand you back to Joe to open the floor for some Q&As. Over to you, Joe.
Super. Okay, that's really good stuff. Okay, just a reminder that Alt and Y is for hands up if you're using keyboards and you can't find the actual icon. Okay, so hands up for questions. Christine, I think we'll probably call you out, and let's see where it goes.
Perfect. So if you raise your hand and I can unmute you. So the first one we have here is from Padraig. I'll just ask you to unmute there.
Hello, lads. Well done on the meeting this evening. And I just want to say about Jimmy Gallagher, I just want to send my condolences to his family. He was a gentleman, and they were beautiful words you said, Pat Kelly. They were really beautiful. Described him very eloquently. I'd just like to thank Anna and Kathleen. I just want to ask a quick question to Shane Ryan, the rower. Shane, I'm 41, and I've moved back home to Donegal in the last 3.25 years. And my father passed away in June this year, and I love water and being out in the sea, and I love being on boats because my father installed that love of fishing. and water. Me and him used to go swimming to the local swimming pool every Sunday when I was a young lad. But I'm trying to get into rowing as a physical exercise and even possibly getting on the water. But could you recommend a rowing machine I could purchase in January? I mean, maybe I'll get a cheaper one next January sales. What would you recommend for a home use?
Yeah, so the ones we use that rowers would use would be the Concept 2 manufacturer. They would be the top rowers. And after there's 2 competitions here in Ireland, the Irish Indoor Rowing Championships, and they sell them off. They sell the rowers off after them. Yeah. Obviously next year I think it's going virtual next year. So yeah. I could give Joe there a contact for you that you can contact if they have any left.
I'd appreciate that. Like, it's just something, because I have a garage in my house here, and it's just like I have an exercise bike and a treadmill, but I'd like to get a rowing machine, just to start practicing. And like, there is a local rowing club in Moville, in Donegal, and in Derry City. So I'd like to try and get out in this ocean or locks rowing eventually. But thanks for the heads up. Derry City would be a good bet, because there is an arms only athlete there as well, so they're used to people the whole disability thing. Disabilities. Yeah. I appreciate that, Shane. Heads up, thanks, mate.
No worries.
Well done on your rowing as well.
Come on, Christina.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Got no more hands up, guys. If there's Frank has his hand up. Hold on, let's go for Frank. Let me find you and I can unmute. We have our famous Frank from last week. And you might have to just hit that OK button there, Frank. There we go. Frank, you're back again. How are you?
I'm okay now, right?
You're perfect.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Hello, Annie and Kathleen. Nice to see you again. Didn't recognize you with the hair. Went out the goggles and the glasses, swimming glasses. Annie, there's something there that you didn't mention, and Kathy didn't mention, is that Annie is a little author. She's a little book which has been published. Aha, you see, you didn't know that. Can I say this to Annie, that the one thing that I admire about you is, I don't like you for it, but I admire about you if you're always questioning. Every time we talk about any aspect of the stroke, the thing that needs to be done, Annie questions why, and you explain it, and then she goes and does it. And I think that's a great basis for success in what you do. Question things, check them out for yourself, and go on. The other thing which I admire about Annie is a couple of years ago at Mayfest. You can think Annie had to get you to hold on to the board and kick your legs over the deep end of the pool. Last year, Annie swam at the Mayfest 120 lengths. And that's 3K. And that's in the short space of time, under 2 hours. So there's a big determination is there, and I say she will succeed, that's for sure. But also credit to her parents. Okay, it doesn't, you don't take her off a plate, as the old saying is. And I think great credit to Kathleen and the dad and the brother, because each Friday night they traipse up, well, hail, rain and shine, they traipse up from Tipperary. Okay, and go back to Tipperary on a Friday night, just come to the sessions, and that's sheer dedication. And I don't think she'd be dragged by the ear, because her ears are still the same size. So in other words, it's her determination to do this. And I would be hopeful for her in the future. Whether she becomes an Olympic athlete or not, or a world champion or not, it's not the point. It's the question of being able to pass on that knowledge, particularly to the visually impaired. And
well said, Frank. Well said. That's really good. That really is. And I think we all endorse that. Annie, you're great. And you made a big splash with Frank as well. Well done. Is there anybody else, Christina?
That's all for we've got Pat raising his hand.
What?
Pat's raising his hand.
Pat,
Am I on?
you're
Yep.
on.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations to Annie, and if she keeps up her determination that she has at the moment, I can see her going places as a future Paralympian, and well done, Annie. Shane, I'd like to ask you, when you were out on the ocean, did you had you any scary moments or any time where you thought you were in danger of anything, sharks or whales or storms or high seas or anything like that? I think it's intriguing actually to what you've done there. It's often wandered away out in the sea there, miles away from the land, So
yeah, so we had we pretty much had everything that you said there. High seas. Our rudder got attacked by a shark on day 35 and broke our rudder on us. So we were actually rudderless for about 1,000 nautical miles, and we had to put up a makeshift sail and pretty much just sail the rest of the way. It was a sleeping bag attached to a set of oars. So we had plenty of fish and dolphins and sharks and everything, all the wildlife. We caught some tuna to feast on, and there's a load of flying fish that would jump into the boat, and if you're in the way, you get hit in the head by them, and depending on the size and the force, it would hit you a bit hard sometimes. But and we also had to ride out a storm as well for a night as well. So we were in the cabins, but. No, I had a safety harness on me at all times when I was out on deck, and I was attached onto the boat, so I felt safe, and I knew my rowing experience of just rowing for the 2 hours solid would get me there.
Oh, brilliant. So we're about to wrap up. Is there a final question there?
That might be all, Joe.
Okay, we're going to wrap up because we're all getting a bit thirsty and hungry, etc. Okay, and we've got a match to watch in a while. Up Iceland. Oh no, sorry.
We might have one more.
One more, okay.
We've got John coming in.
Bulgaria tonight, Joe.
That's Bulgaria and Ireland, yeah, but Iceland are going to knock out England.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, John. You're our last question for this evening.
Thanks, Christina. I was just saying, well done to everyone and great presentation tonight, Nick.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay.
I was going to ask Shane, will there be rowing in the new year? I'm living Clare, so is it close space to Castleconnell from Clare to do rowing?
Well, I'm not involved with Castleconnell Boat Club at the moment. What part of Clare are you in?
I live in Doonbeg. I live in West Clare.
Oh yeah. You'd have to. I'll give Joe contacts there to see if they're rowing, but it all depends on the call. I think they are out rowing as well.
I gave it a try. I gave it a try out at the Water Sports Inclusion Games in Galway in 2018. So I like rowing.
Okay.
And well done on your.
I can give. Thank you. Yeah, I can give Joe a contact there for Castleconnell, and they can.
Okay, thank you very much.
Pass it on to yourself.
And well done, and that was a great achievement and rowing all the way across the Atlantic.
John, you keep up the golf now as well. Okay.
Oh,
okay, that's it for tonight, folks. Okay, next week you're in for some real entertainment, I can assure you, because we're going to have Babs Wellberg and Mark Keller from Dundalk Blind Tennis Club. They're going to kick up a bit of a racket, I'd imagine. And also Donica McCarthy, okay, who needs very little introduction, but you're going to find out what a superstar this guy is next week. So just finally to acknowledge, Pádraig puts this together, by the way. So thanks to Pádraig, and our team is Christina, of course, who you've met here today, and Aaron, who's an extremely shy person, okay? So thanks to the team here as well. Good night. God bless. See you soon.